part of the authorization team that supports schools through candidacy. This webcast has been developed to support both schools and educators participating in remote consultation and verification visits. This support material is to be used in conjunction with the Remote Visit Support Guide and the FAQ document, as well as the IB guides for authorization and the consultation process. At the IB, our top priority is the safety of our IB community. We understand that the COVID-19 situation is a difficult time for everyone and wish to offer our empathy and support during this time. We continue to monitor the rapidly evolving events and act to ensure that schools are not disadvantaged by the situation. Following the recommendations by the various governing bodies, including local ministries of health, the IB has decided to make available remote verification and consultation visits to schools impacted by this situation. Remote visits will be carried out at the request of the schools. If you have not done so already, please email the school delivery team and copy your program relationship manager to confirm that you wish to host a remote verification or consultation visit. Conducting a remote verification or consultation visit requires additional considerations, planning, and organization. The IB has developed guidance and protocols for this process. It is vital that you read the Remote Visit Support Guide, as well as the accompanying FAQ document. Please note that generally remote visits occur when schools are physically in session. During this time, the IB is implementing a high degree of flexibility to meet schools' needs, while maintaining the high standards and expectations for authorization in each program. If your school is not physically in session, please review the FAQ documents thoroughly and contact your program relationship manager with any questions. Remote verification visits will follow the same requirements as on-site face-to-face visits as indicated in the Guide to Authorization available on the public website. Remote visits will be based on the application for authorization, documents that were submitted at the time, and any matters to be addressed, evidence that was submitted as a result of the application report. Additional evidence will be collected remotely via videos, online interviews, interactions, and samples of student work. Remote consultation visits will follow the same requirements as specified in the Guide for Consultants. Prior to the remote visit, the program coordinator will work with the visiting team leader or consultant to finalize the visit agenda. As far as possible, the visit agenda for a remote visit should follow the same format and timings as an on-site visit, although there may need to be flexibility depending on availability of stakeholders and also for those working across time zones. Meetings will need to be scheduled with the governing body, head of school, program coordinators, parents, students, and teachers, and these are teachers in subject groups or year groups and core teachers. Librarians as well as special educators and school counselors or university counselors will also need to be met. Participants do not all need to be in the same place for these meetings. The school can use an online tool to meet virtually with the visiting team members or consultant. For example, Skype, WebEx, WhatsApp, Zoom, or Google Hangouts. The communication tools that will be used during the remote visit will need to be agreed upon prior to the visit and tested to ensure that they work. For interactions with students, the student interviews could be organized in a similar online group format, as appropriate for the different age groups. If students or parents are uncomfortable with online meetings, parents and guardians can be present. If members of the school community are not proficient in the language used during the visit, the school is responsible for ensuring a translator is available to support the meetings. This translator should not be a member of the school community and will also need to have access to the technology that will be used for the meetings. Schools will be asked to provide additional evidence for a remote visit, in addition to the evidence that is normally expected. This includes video or photographic evidence that demonstrates that practices related to facilities and resources are in place. On a face-to-face visit, these would have been evidenced during the school tour or on a visit of the school library or media center. Videos or a virtual tour would need to be provided directly to the visiting team and your program relationship manager that demonstrate the following areas: the library or media center and the variety and types of resources available there, the arts facilities, the classrooms and other learning spaces, including displays, the physical education facilities available, for MYP, the design facilities, the safe storage location and safe storage cabinet with details of all the requirements. Files may be shared via email or via a remote file sharing platform, such as Dropbox, Google Drive, or WeTransfer. Although the remote visit support guide indicates these videos should be provided 30 days in advance of the visit, we understand that this deadline may be difficult to meet in the current circumstances. In such cases, we ask that all videos be provided to the members of the visiting team and program relationship manager no later than 2 weeks prior to the visit. If it is not possible to safely obtain these videos prior to the remote verification visit, the school will be able to provide them at a later date as evidence for any related MTBAs that may arise. If the IB determines additional information or evidence is required, your program relationship manager will contact you about this via the MTBA process, which will be discussed later in this webcast. If the school is currently engaged in online learning, the visiting team or consultant can evidence constructivist pedagogy in these online learning scenarios. Evidence of learning and teaching can also be gathered from discussions with teachers, school leaders, and students. In the absence of live observations of teaching and learning, visitors or consultants can review work samples, discuss portfolios with learners, and reflect on assessed student work samples. If the school uses an online learning tool to evidence learning over time, then visitors or consultants can also review this. Some indicators of constructivist pedagogy are listed on this slide. These are relevant to learning online as well as in physical classrooms. The MTBA process remains unchanged for all milestones in the school's authorization process. Prior to and during the remote visit, the visiting team will compile evidence related to the program standards and practices, that is the 2014 version. Evidence includes items such as documents, action plans, conversations, videos, and photographs. We understand that during this time of disruption, schools may not be able to provide visual evidence of facilities. If this is the case, then visual evidence for practices that could not be obtained during the visit will be requested through the MTBA process for verification visits. The school will provide descriptions of facilities during the remote visit, and these will be documented by the visiting team or consultant as part of the findings. Once it is possible to get back to the school to record videos, these can be uploaded in response to any matters to be addressed. After the remote verification visit, the visiting team will develop the report based on the program standards and practices, noting the evidence provided by the school. This report will then be submitted to the IB for review and revision within 2 weeks of the visit. Where the evidence is not sufficient to confirm a required practice is in place, the IB will issue an MTBA for that practice. When MTBAs are identified in a verification visit report, the IB will inform the school of the specific additional evidence needed to resolve or close the matter. Deadlines will be indicated for the submission of evidence in the school's action plan. Given the current circumstances, some flexibility with regards to deadlines may be necessary. We would urge you to contact your Program Relationship Manager directly with any questions about MTBAs. For consultation visits, the report will indicate areas that need to be addressed in red, and any additional evidence can continue to be provided through the period of the remote consultation. It is the responsibility of the team leader or consultant to ensure all meetings are set up with the appropriate virtual meeting link, and that the virtual tools being used are accessible to the school and to the visitors. In some cases, schools may already have virtual platforms in place, and these can be used to support the remote visit. In such cases, the coordinator may organize the virtual meeting links. Coordinators and team leaders or consultants must work closely together to ensure links to all virtual meetings are included in the remote visit agenda. Schools and visitors must ensure that they have access to computer technology and sufficient internet bandwidth to support video meetings over the 2 days of the remote visit, or as in the case of MYP partnership verification visits, 3 days. There are a number of collaborative tools that you could use, and we've listed some on the slides, but you might also like to use others. Whichever tools are utilized, we recommend consistency across the visit, where possible, to limit confusion across multiple platforms. On this slide, we have some advice and tips for schools in preparation for their remote visit. As mentioned earlier, it's important to test out the technology in advance and make sure that you have a plan B and a plan C in place in case something goes wrong. When conducting online meetings, make sure that all participants are visible on the screen. Where possible, share videos of school facilities in advance so that the visiting team can review these. Keep the school community informed of the visit agenda and make sure they know what to expect. Arrange for a translator if required. And last but not least, most importantly, don't forget to acknowledge your journey so far and all the hard work that's gone into this point. On this slide, we have some advice for educators, including taking a few minutes for discussion in between each meeting. When conducting online meetings, decide in advance which team member would be leading that meeting, and that avoids crosstalk and any delays that you might have with technology. It's important to keep detailed notes and make sure you're aware of the deadlines for submission, which is 2 weeks after the end of the visit. In cases where you might be using your mobile phone and incur charges, please don't forget to add them to your claims at the end of the visit. The IB remains committed to supporting schools and educators during this challenging time. Please feel free to contact your Program Relationship Manager with any questions about the remote visit protocols or doubts that you may have.